Cameroon to solve its problems?
Thank you, Mr. Leo. You see, when I listen to some people talk here, I ask myself whether this Anglophone problem just erupted yesterday night. You see, we should not forget that when this problem erupted, the world was watching. They allowed Cameroon time to solve the problem. What did we do? We opted for the military solution. And the US government said, you cannot win that conflict through the use of arms. I remember Tipo Nagy hammering this point. You cannot win this thing. It can't be solved by the use of arms. Now, after the major national dialogue, made the European Union, the African Union asked the government, okay, implement the resolutions. And I remember having said that the government should be given a chance to implement those resolutions so that we can prove that the special status is an empty vessel. Now look at what we are getting. You are given the opportunity to solve what you call an internal problem. First of all, you resort to arms. It fails. You go now to Connie talk. It doesn't work. You come up with empty vessel to which you give loud-sounding names. It does not work. Because of all these failures, the Norwegian Refugee Council cried that the Southern Cameroon's conflict was the most underreported conflict in the world.
Most neglected.
Yeah, underreported and neglected in the world. That is what gave rise to the CDN. The CDN was born because this conflict was the most neglected and unreported. I am very sure when I talk here about historical facts, some people look at me and say, where are this from? Look, this is the work of the CDN. It is thanks to the CDN that people know that Southern Cameroon had a constitution. It is thanks to CDN that people know that on independence, Southern Cameroon had 3 international airports. Bismarck having 4 tracks. 4 landing tracks. Douala has 1. Bismarck Airport, 1961, had 4. Thanks to CDN. It is thanks to CDN that the US Congress had a documentation that was prepared for 6 months that enabled it to pass that resolution 684.
Yeah, but other persons will say they did say that. Okay.
No. Nobody will tell you they did say, because CDN has produced a big documentation. You heard what Dr. Nick said. When the negotiation will come, the problem will be between the separatists who are... No, sir. Everything has been taken care of, sir. We have done a great deal of work. If negotiations were to start, your fears will be swept away, sir. Experts have worked for 6 months. It is thanks to that negotiation, that documentation, that the Americans called on their partners. And you saw Canada. After America, Canada followed. And now England, for the first time, refers to Northwest Southwest as Southern Cameroon for the first time. So Germany, you had a German parliamentarian who came out and is a member of the CDN. France, Nadot, is Nadot not a Frenchman? Isn't a French parliamentarian? He is a member of CDN. Now, are you telling me that we should sit quiet and allow you to continue killing yourselves? The world has been watching you. They give you the opportunity to solve the problem. You decide to continue killing yourselves. And when they want to help you now to solve the problem, you say, no, leave us alone. We can solve. What can you solve?
Yeah, but
you have been killing yourselves. You have been using Connie. You cannot talk straight. You cannot solve anything. That is the reason why we are asking the international community to help us to solve our problem. We are not asking for military intervention. Please look at those. Look at what is asking.
Now we are going to go through them.
Nobody is asking for military intervention. Help us to sit together and talk, because, like you read somewhere there, we cannot hold any meeting in Cameroon. We know what will happen now. They will ban the hall. There will be no meeting. Let us go to a neutral venue. Sit in a neutral venue where nobody will influence the other. Don't come and threaten people with arrest.
Who banned the meeting? One meeting would be banned.
With all due respect to his memory, Cardinal Tumi, you saw the effort he made to come up with an all-Anglophone conference, to an Anglophone general conference.
Is it the Anglophone general conference that you want to take place?
You saw how Tumi suffered. He wanted Anglophones to sit together and come up with solutions. Who banned it? Was it to me? It was the government. We should face facts.
Yeah, but
he talked of from Mukete, who wanted the chiefs to come together. Who banned it? The government. So you want to rely on that very government that they will come now and organize a neutral meeting with the separatists to allow things to be solved? Let me tell you, until everybody who is in the bushes surrenders, the government will not let go. And the president keeps telling the fighters, drop your weapons.
Yeah,
drop
but
your weapons.
what,
so don't think
yeah,
that this government will ever sit to say, please.
Senior Barrister, you are raising a point. You say that you don't want to see people die, and that the international community has given, has observed the government to solve the problem.
Of the government.
And seemingly the government does not want to do so. And you think that the international community should step in. Do you have the impression that they are interested in stepping in?
Why not?
But so why are you calling them? If they had interest, why are you calling them to come in?
Contrary to what people were saying here, we have the US that has legiferated, has passed a legislation. Resolution 684, that's a legislation on Cameroon. We've never seen that in any part of the world. Canada has followed suit. Germany is on the road. Britain has had, we all watch what is happening. So the momentum is building, sir. We should not feel that nothing is being done. It is building.
Apostle Ambe, you say that we should solve our problems because people have been dying for so long. So Cameroonians should solve the problem. He says that because people are dying, the international community says they want to solve the problem. Do you have that impression that for 4 or 5 years nothing's happening?
The reason why we resolved to solving this problem at the local level is because we initially relied on international communities and they have not given us any result. If Cameroonians are falling back to Cameroon to start looking for local solutions, it's because initially our necks were stretched out of this continent, looking up to the so-called big guns out of the country to solve the problem. Until date, we've not gotten any result. You know, initially when this crisis started, every southern Cameroonian was looking out of the country. And then when we heard when Antonio Guterres was coming, there were songs everywhere that anytime from now it will be solved. And then suddenly Scotland came, every time from now it will be solved. And then suddenly we got in touch with Musa Faki, anytime from now it will be solved. Now, that anxiety, that passion, the enthusiasm that was lifted towards the international community began dwindling gradually when the first year passed. The death toll increased, refugees increased, IDPs increased, sick people increased, more deaths were littered in the streets. The second year passed, the passion, the anxiety, the enthusiasm for the international community was dying because they visited us and never went down to where the things were happening. Most of them ended in Yaoundé and carried gold medals and went back to Britain, went back to their country, and went back to America. And I'm telling us that our desire and our passion for the international community are completely dead. They used to say if you call people and to come and solve your problem and they cannot come, then you have to start devising a means for yourself to solve this problem. The reason why we have resolved to taking the Cameroonian way is because from example we've gathered, the international community has always visited places in crisis and they have never proffered solutions based on history. And then with this particular situation in Cameroon, this is the 5th year running and we have not gotten anything substantial. I want to ask Senior Barrister that he says that Germany is getting in, Britain is getting in, Canada is getting in. These are all members of the United Nations. If we follow the second topic, it says the UN is not prepared at any time from now to accept or to acknowledge, to discuss it. Are these people separated from the United Nations? It means they will do it individually out of the UN. Members of the UN, the UN itself is saying that they are not ready to discuss it now, and then the members leave the UN bloc and then they come out to their countries to come and sit and say that they will say Germany is involved. This thing is propaganda of maximum proportion. I think it's important for us to know how to handle our own challenges here. Germany will not skip UN and come back home and handle Cameroon crisis as an individual. The same with Britain, they will not do it. So if the president is sincere enough to organize another dialogue and call stakeholders and be sincere to open up and give opportunity, because what was organized initially was not a dialogue, was a monologue. You cannot organize a dialogue and try to impose on what people should come and believe A dialogue in English is a communication between two persons when their wills are properly exposed and then they come to a conclusion. You don't come and say, you should not accept this one. That's not a dialogue. That is a kind of intimidation. So we'll not consider the first one as a dialogue. But if I thought there's another dialogue to solve the problem, I would prefer we go the Cameroonian way. I have said that, I'm still saying it. United Nations, United States, Britain, Germany, France wrote that resolution 1608 since 1922. 1961, sorry. Since 1961. 1961 till today. They will not wait for people to start dying. They were supposed to have come back and say, we wrote in 1961 that, because I'm telling you that it is not this killing that began this agitation. People have been agitating for a separation in this country since from the days of Ayijo, not even Ayijo, the days of this, I'm calling the stakeholders who were agitating in those days. This Baliman and other persons that were agitating. Yes. Now, why did they not activate that resolution 1608 when nobody was dead? Human lives have gone down. Resolution 1608 is still dormant. Is it when they will scrape the entire note and then they will come to apply it for ghosts to leave resolution 1608? Is that resolution 1608 going to come when 8 million southern Cameroonians have died? And then they will put the guinea pigs and frogs and tilapia fish to live in northwest and southwest. What is the function of that resolution 1608 that is not activated now when we have about 10,000 persons already dead?
That's what we're activating.
Activating what for how many years?
We're activating.
Let us be sincere, Master. I'm tired. I'm tired of seeing Southern Cameroonians dying anyhow. It's enough.
Okay,
it's enough.
Dr. Nick Ngwanyam, the 4 point says they want an initiation for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire, but they go further to say demand an independent international investigation by the United Nations Human Rights Council of massacres, atrocities, and gross human rights abuses in Anglophone Cameroon in order to account for and hold perpetrators of rights abuses accountable and to prevent a culture of impunity that breeds more abuses to the civilian population. This is already something that has been re-echoed severally by different instances.
Yes, of course. Let me say it again. There's nothing that we are going to invent. Nothing. There's nothing new under the sun, and you are not going to invent anything. We are in a crisis, and we are not the first nation to have been in a crisis. There have been crises in South Africa, in Rwanda, in most of these countries, Chad, whatever. And scholars are not going to go into the laboratories to find out how you deal with crisis. There are established ways and means of how crisis should be ended. And what I'm saying is that when the time comes, the specialists are going to take care of it, and they're going to do the ABC of the whole thing so that we get a solution. And this time around, there's not going to be any room for any mistakes, because when we had the major national dialogue, we did it a la Camerounese. We lack excellence. We like doing things in a way, and then after that we do it in a way, and we try to justify it by creating more trouble so that that position stands. And in so doing, we have lost lives. There have been more burnings. Children have suffered, and so on. So we are going to have one last dialogue. There will not be a second one. Might be you could have follow-up dialogues now, just like in any family there's always a dialogue, but we are having one major dialogue which is going to address the problem. And of course, when we are talking about the problem, is the form of state. And when that is done, then that reconciliation and unity would be cemented, and then the little issues will be dealt with, and as a nation we'll move forward. And I would say again that with the Anglophone problems, this Anglophone crisis, 3 major positions were defined. There's this decentralization, which is just a step away from the highly centralized government, which is not going down very well. There is federation/confederation, which is a midway package, and then there is the restoration secessionist, which is just another story, and the dialogue and whatever is about looking for that solution, picking that solution, that answer to this problem, which would actually solve the problem. Not that everybody would be satisfied, but people have got to give a little bit. You have to give a little bit.
Sacrifice.
But the bottom line is, where there is truth, where there is love, where there is respect, where there's merit, there would be a solution. If there has been no solution up until now, it's because of excessive ego, pride, and not following the truth. Thank you.
Not following the truth, but don't you buy into what they are saying, that there is need for the United Nations Human Rights Council to come and do a clear investigation to be able to apportion who is responsible for
No,
what?
it's going to be done. What I'm saying is that I'm still looking at the big picture.
Okay.
These are the small little nitty-gritties. And when we will get to that reconciliation and unity, is the A plus B plus C plus D plus that comes to that position. Okay, what you're asking is just an A or a B or a C of that process.
You're looking at the...
Yes, I'm looking at the big picture, and I'm painting this big picture so that people don't get carried away. And I'm saying that the specialists are going to help us. If the specialists say that these are what we need, A, B, C, D, E, F, the A, B, C, D, E, F will be implemented and followed. And we are not going to skip things and mix up things a la plantain malaxe as we did at the major
Yeah, you keep talking about the specialists. Are we also where we are because the specialists have not been given the opportunity?
No, the specialists were not given the opportunity. The major national dialogue. In the major national dialogue, it was more of politicians playing politics, and then they pushed the specialists to the side, and they didn't even want to listen to truth. The problem is there was a rejection of truth.
Where are the specialists going to come from? From space, and how is it?
Mr. Leo, the people you are calling specialists, I don't know whether they are principalities or powers.
No, maybe specialists in conflict resolution, conflict management.
Mr. Leo, do you know how many conflict resolution management is under the AU alone to silence gun in 2000? Is it 2030 or so, the silencing of the gun?
Okay, yes,
it's just
I remember.
to almost have
the
over 32 organizations under the AU on how to emerge Africa for the silencing of the guns in 2030. It's just too much, 32 organizations, Mr. Leo. So what I'm saying here, Mr. Leo, I will come back to emphasize that this problem we are talking today can never ever be solved whether by the United States or by the UN. Take example of South Sudan. They protested here that they wanted independence, got their independence and started fighting among themselves, killing among themselves, which only simply tells you that even if today this country goes two separate ways, does not still solve the generic problem that we have in Cameroon. As the two, call it the two state or call it the people of the English Northwest and South, does not still solve the problem. I'll give you again a clear example. Take a good example at the people who are holding arms in those two regions, who call themselves defending their state or who want to protect their motherland or their fatherland. Look at how much they are treating their own citizens who are in that area. Let us be clear on the root core of the problem, and let us not begin to play politics, international politics, historical, how will I put it, adoption of identity. Let us be honest. Go to the United States. 2/3 of its prison population is made up of our own same people. Our own same people in America. Almost 1,000 something people are killed every year from our own same people. Nobody talks about that. You want to talk about the United Nations. The second charter of the first article says the second charter of the first article says that the United Nations is there to promote equality and to accord everybody its full political right. The seventh charter states that it has no right to violate the sovereignty of another state, which is not applicable to Africa. The people you are calling, whether it is a France or is a United Kingdom or Russia, all of those people have veto power. The core of the problem here, Mr. Leo, Cameroon is not facing what other nations are not facing. Look at what is happening today in Ethiopia. The people of the Tigray, Look at what is happening in Mali. The Malian for over how many 25 years suffered under a democratic system and decided and took a decision to charter their own future and are asking the French France to leave their nation. Look at what is happening in Central Africa. Look at what is happening in Ivory Coast. Cite all those cases. 2010 in Ivory Coast, we lost how many people? There almost 3,000 souls in Ivory Coast. So Cameroon is not a special case in what is happening all around Africa, Mr. Leo. So when we are talking about the core of the problem in which we are facing today in Cameroon, Mr. Leo, it is a historic problem, and we must face the fact that there are certain things we need to start abolishing. And one of those things we need to start abolishing is those 1960 constitution or 1961 constitution, because they cannot tell us when we became independent, Mr. Leo. These are certain issues that we need to erase. And that is why I said that Magufuli made passed a degree in Tanzania whereby the Tanzania after 54 years never celebrated Independence Day anymore. You know why? Because we are not gays. We are people, we should be able to make our own decisions. We should be able to charter our own future, and we are not supposed to be told on what to do. We are men and we have heads. We don't need to allow other people to tell us on what to do. That is why I will agree with the apostle that we must come back to the table on solving this problem the Cameroon way. Depending on all these other nations, what have they done in all these other countries? What have they done? They have absolutely done nothing. Look at what France is exploiting in Cameroon. We are not saying that they are the only problem in Cameroon. No, Cameroonians are their problems themselves. But what has the United Nations done? Nothing. What is the world doing? Nothing. The 500 billion we pay as colonial tax to France, the currency we are using, paying every... So these are issues, Mr. Leo. We have to face the fact that these problems are problems we created. Whether they have a historic background from the colonial history, but we are creating this problem. The conflict which is happening down there, it is not the West that created it. It is we who created the problem. So we should be able to solve the problem.
Senior Barrister, you are a member of the Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiation. You have written to the U.S. Secretary of State, hoping that the Biden administration will come in. What if they fail to hit your core? What happens?
Well,
you keep knocking.
Thank you, Mr. Liu. The Biden administration cannot fail because they have this resolution 684, which is already there, which is already a guideline that they have that they are going to follow because it's their legislation. So they cannot fail because you see, they are already engaged. They are already on the path. Now, you see, this letter, as I was saying, is. You see, you were bringing out those points that were... Yeah. You see, we are like indicating those points on which they have to hammer. I'm surprised there is one point that you have not raised. You see, because when I listen to Apostle Ambe, he said, we'll solve the thing here. Sir, there is no way imaginable under the sun that this conflict can be solved in Cameroon. Let me tell you something very simple that you may be ignoring. There have been too many deaths. Too many. The French president, Emmanuel Macron, said before the whole world, I know there is genocide in Cameroon. When Calibri was talking to him, he said he knows there is genocide in Cameroon. So you think that the international committee will sit and watch a country where there is genocide and not come to prosecute anybody? Sir, that impunity will not exist. All those people who are responsible for those killings, the burning of homes, crimes against humanity will be brought to book. Thank you, sir. They have to be brought to book.
Perpetrators of
that's right, sir.
Human rights abuses.
You cannot come and kill people for nothing. Try to erase the human race, and you expect that you will solve your thing Cameroonian way. Sir, you answer for the killings, answer for the burning of the houses, answer for all those crimes against humanity. So you see, this letter, like some people were saying, is not necessary. It is very necessary.
Why are you so certain and sure that the U.S. is going to make a move to Cameroon, and how are they going to do that?
How can a country that has already passed a legislation not make a move?
Yeah, but
they have passed a legislation. They ask other countries to join them, and the countries are joining them. How do you think they are going to go to slumber? No, just tell me. This very Mr. Blinken to whom a letter was sent, what did he say on his inauguration? He is interested in Cameroon.
Yeah, he's interested in Cameroon.
He is interested. Not that he knows. He is interested.
He's interested in Cameroon. Are we saying that
so
once the show?
We are trying to explore that interest.
Yeah, but
since you are interested, sir, hammer on this point.
Yeah, but the French showed interest in Libya, and the US joined them in that move. Are we saying that because they say they're interested, it is going to be for our good? But even when they say they're interested, what is a guarantee that they are going to make a move? Are they going to do it?
You are forgetting, sir. Yeah. You are forgetting, sir. With all due respect, you are forgetting the terms. Some of the provisions of that resolution 684 that stated that they were surprised that France, that has big interest in Cameroon, is doing nothing. You remember that?
What if France?
No, you remember, and they called on France to join forces, so that this problem should be solved.
Yes.
And you ask the question to somebody here: is France an honest broker? Is France helping the war effort, or
my question,
we have all seen French warships anchoring in Crise with ammunition? We solve. No. We should say all those things.
Senior barrister, my question is:
they are not honest brokers.
Yeah, senior barrister.
They should be more honest.
Senior barrister,
NATO tells them so.
Senior barrister, we've seen many resolutions from the U.S. Congress. It's not one, I'm sure two or more. U.S. Senate the same. The EU Parliament. But what is the certainty that because they say they are interested, that they are coming?
Mr. Liu, when senior barrister tells us that people say that they said there is a genocide, that Macron said there is a genocide in southern Cameroon, and they cannot say that there's a genocide, they don't intervene. I want to use Rwanda as a reference. The number of persons that have died in Cameroon can't be compared to the persons that died.
Was there no prosecution in Rwanda?
Prosecuting who? When France acknowledged recently that they were responsible for the butchering. Wait! France was the nation that sponsored marches from China that empowered the Hutus to butcher the Tutsis into pieces. On the 6th of April 1994, Juvenal Habyarimana was eliminated as president under a coup d'etat, and on the 7th of April 1994, war started and the genocide started. Who sponsored the genocide? France sponsored the genocide. People died from 200 estimated amount of 206,000 to 1 million persons died, and France has acknowledged that genocide after how many years? From 1994 to now, 17 years. It acknowledged it, and after acknowledging it, is trying to reconcile ties with Rwanda. Who has sanctioned France? Number 2, Libya. A group of Tunisians and Algerians, since they resemble all Arabs, were instigated to go and cause chaos and upheaval in the land of Libya to cause confusion, and Muammar Gaddafi was killed. It was a joint NATO force that eliminated Gaddafi, who has been judged. What if France is the one influencing what is happening in Southern Cameroon? Who will be judged? Please, I'm tired of all this drama that we are acting here. Because the truth is, if we don't call a spade on television, if you maintain a particular stand from the beginning of a revolution to the end, then you are not a good citizen. When things evolve, you have to evolve with situations. We have to look on the horizon and see where this resolution, this conflict is going to. Are you telling me that it is Coalition for National Dialogue and Negotiation that will be reminding America something that they have written in their constitution, in their Senate, something that American Congress has written, Senate has written? Then it is an independent body now reminding them of what they wrote. Master, let us put this thing on a kilo and balance it now. I'm talking as a political analyst, and I've analyzed this thing very well. Senior barrister, America is not to be told anything concerning this crisis anymore. They have every detail of it. What we expect from them now is action. It's like reminding you that your name is Senior Barrister Achu. Should I remind you your name?
You may.
Who wrote the resolution 1608? Was America part of the UN? So America is being reminded of what they established. When that thing was written, some of us was not even born. Some of us were not even born. I wasn't born in 1961.
1608 was not written by Americans, sir.
I say United Nations. United Nations is US not part of the United Nations? Should US be towards in the UN? As a matter of fact, US is the owner of UN. If you don't know, that's the truth. So let us not be beating around the bush. We have to be sincere here. We have to be sincere. People are dying. People are dying. I've been asking questions in Africa here, and I'm still asking again. I'm still repeating and asking that the matters in Africa that have been resolved by Africans themselves, where was the international community that came to handle those problems?
Yeah, but they are also calling on the U.S. government to impress on the African Union and other agencies to look into this problem. Like you're asking, do we need the U.S. to remind the African Union of what is happening in their backyard?
What did Musa Faki come here to do under AU? What did Patricia Scotland come here to do under Commonwealth? What did the Francophonie head come here to do? What did Antonio Guterres come here to do? Are those not international communities that should be telling you their name is Kumlenat? Something is wrong somewhere. Something is wrong somewhere. These people are not to be told what is happening in Cameroon. You know what is happening here. And as I'm saying it, in the days of Gonjinka, in the days of Barrister Woodis Bakosi man, when they started this NC stop was Southern Cameroon here, that resolution 1608 was existing. People activated and tried Gabon. They tried to fight this thing here, it did not work. Then we suddenly now went into arms. Humans have died after government declared war on people and war started. People have died. I'm sure the blood of Southern Cameroon that have been shed should be strong enough to activate that resolution 1608 to go into action. Everybody must not die before they activate resolution 1608. Resolution 1608, 10,000 Southern Cameroonians are dead. Be activated. If you died, resurrect. If you were killed, rise from the dead and solve the death going on.
Okay. Dr. Nick Ngwanyam, two positions here. He does not really believe that the international community is going to come in because they have been watching for so many years. But Senior Barrister Ashu thinks that, like you say, you see in the crystal ball, he also sees in that crystal ball that they're already packing their bags on their way to Cameroon. When we talk of international intervention, what are they actually expected to do in Cameroon?
What we are making it look so complex, but it's not as complex as it sounds. You know, before I came here, I've been hearing about this coalition for dialogue and negotiations, and this letter, I don't know whether, I think, okay, the coalition for dialogue and negotiations has written only one letter, I suppose. They have written a letter that's going to the international body or the United Nations.
To the U.S. Secretary of State.
That's right. But yeah, but it would have been more useful for them to try to bring those Anglophones in the diaspora to think with one cup. That would have been more useful, because they are an interested party in this problem, and the other interested party is the Cameroonian government. But I asked that question
earlier on that, okay, now you are engaging the international community. Why not engage the parties directly concerned?
Yes, it's more useful. It's more useful than this one, because because this letter is you are preaching to the Pope. You get what I'm saying? This letter is preaching to the Pope, like Apostle Ambe was saying. There's nothing that you are telling them that they don't know. They know more than you. And it is, if this problem has delayed, it's not because the international community doesn't know what to do. It's because they're waiting on us and hoping that we'll be wise enough to rise up to the occasion. Because, you know, there is a problem, and we as a people are behaving as if we don't have what it takes to solve the problem, and they're telling you, okay, this is the answer to your problem, solve the problem, and we are still running around, you know, messing up, and then they're hoping that we'll be wise enough to rise up to the occasion so that they can join us to solve the problem. The problem is not the international community that doesn't want to solve the problem. The problem is rather with us not wanting to solve the problem, because if we truly really wanted to solve the problem, we would not need the international community. But the international community might come in to enforce that truth, to make sure that truth, to take cognizance of that truth. But that truth has to be spoken by us.
Dr. Nick, you say the problem is with us?
It's with us.
Yeah.
It's
How
with us.
How are we?
Now listen, I told you that when there was the major national dialogue, I was one of the people who believed I could have sworn on anything that the national dialogue was it and it was going to solve the problems. But when they started by torpedoing the Cardinals General Anglophone Conference, I started to see things not very clearly. And then when I went to that to register for the major national dialogue, and I saw those 8 commissions, and there was nothing that was directly dealing with the form of state, I knew that we were already on a wrong path, because the problem that the major national dialogue was supposed to address was the form of state. And that problem, in fact, if we were sincere to ourselves, would have carried bags and baggage, would have gone to Yaoundé. There would not have been 8 things to deal with. Would have dealt with the form of state as the major thing, and then all the other small other things as reconstruction will be smaller things under it. You have to deal with the major problem, solve that problem, then package the other ones, and it will be okay. But we dispersed our energies because we were not honest enough to face the music. But like we said, other people's children are dying, and the nation is dying. And at this material moment, that problem has got to be solved, because in as much as we are in Cameroon, we are not an island. All these other countries that you are mentioning, America, France, Britain, and so on, they also have an interest in seeing that there is peace in Cameroon. And whether we like it or not, they don't come on the television to make noise about it, but they've been working in the background. So if we are saying that there's another dialogue coming, it's not a unilateral thing. They are part of it. They have been engineering it. They are working on it, and they gave enough time to see whether the major national dialogue was worth its salt. And when it became very clear to everybody, including our government, that it had failed, then they said, well, there's no need to waste this time. We need to do something about it. And as I'm telling you, there's going to be a dialogue, there's going to be reconciliation, and there's going to be unity.
There's going to be a reconciliation and unity. Andrin Atemi Bako. Now, some persons are asking that if Dr. Nick says there's going to be a dialogue, that dialogue, who are those to constitute such a dialogue? And you also think that the Cameroonians should fix their stuff? Who are those to fix it? The government and the separatists?
Mr. Liu, I still will go back to say that, you see, we always still have the impression that politics should only be discussed under a political party. Mm-hmm. And until we start knowing where we should place the context of how we should discuss politics and how we should manage conflicts that may present in our society and how we should address them, I think that we can start bringing in some very competent persons to to manage the problem. But as far as we are keep looking and expecting on the international community, I think that the examples all around Africa is very clear on very gross genocides we have seen from Sudan, where we had 1.9 million people that died, to Sudan, where we are talking about 50,000 people that died in Sudan, in South Sudan. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you understand me. You heard about the Rwanda genocide, the Sierra Leone, the genocide also in Sierra Leone, and so many other places, Mr. Liu. The question here is, at the end of the day, I come to really ask myself that the people that Barrister is claiming that they are going to come and sanction and punish the leaders for the deaths of these people, who have punished them for their own deaths that they have committed? Like you cited, NATO entered Libya with Obama. We lost almost 1,200 persons, souls, including women and children. But nobody took responsibility over that. They assumed that it was a conflict, it was war, so nobody takes responsibility. All I'm saying here, Mr. Liu, we need to turn the tables back around. Look for individuals. Fall back to our chieftaincies. look at our palaces and the dignities that we have lost. We have how like stripped out away from our palaces and from our chiefs. We have reduced them to become auxiliaries. But these are people, Mr. Leo, in communities and villages. We have seen where matters and conflicts were best handled in traditional council, and I don't think that is another special case that cannot be handled locally. So if it is, like I said, if we try once, twice, thrice, and it doesn't go, Mr. Leo, we can draw in a close neighbor, a neighboring country, and say, look at what we are going through. Because at the end of the day, Mr. Leo, before these problems go out of hand, we could have prevented them. That is very important. That is time management. Before this problem went out of hand, we could have managed them. But only because, like I keep saying, that the systems which are in place in a country like Cameroon does not seek the interest of its own people, which makes the interest of people become very divided. Okay. Where to take an approach on a case becomes very difficult because you have an interest, this other person has his own interest. That makes the war become very complicated to be solved. Okay. Permit me to say this, Mr. Liu. We saw, like he was talking about, arms embargo. Look at what happened in Sudan. We had China that was shipping in weapons, but America had given arms embargo. But China was sending in weapons. What could America do? The amount of people that died there, did China take responsibility? The answer is no. So all I'm saying here is that until we begin to close our doors, like what we see other leaders in Rwanda, Paul Kagame, in Tanzania, Madagascar, people who can close their doors, Mr. Liu, and get all-inclusive dialogue and look at your people in the face and say, where do we go from here? But if Cameroonians do not even see themselves as people belonging to this nation, you live in your own country like foreigners. That is how Cameroonians live in their own country. They live like foreigners. They don't live like people who belong to this state. And that is why it's very difficult to solve this problem.
Senior barrister, I ask, and I'll ask again, what if the U.S. does not make the move in the direction that you expect? What happens with the coalition? And I also asked a question earlier on here that why not also engage the direct parties to the conflict?
Thank you. I think he also mentioned something like that. I was giving us an advice that we should engage the partners. You should remember very well that the Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiation organized an international webinar to which all the parties to this conflict were invited. It was supposed to take place in Washington, but because of COVID, it was virtual. It was on social media. See, because of COVID, the US could not allow us to organize it in Washington. But we did invite all the stakeholders. I remember Ayabacho took the floor. And I think I made my presentation after him. Ayabacho was there. I remember Eric Chinje?
Eric Tato?
No, Eric
Chinje?
There is Munzu, I think. Yes, Dr. Munzu. Munzu was there. There were people who talked for federalism, those who talked for unity state. All the opinions were represented during this 3-day international webinar.
The Cameroon government was also represented?
Well, if you are invited and you don't want to participate, are we going to force you, sir?
Okay.
We invited everybody. It took place for 3 days and it was broadcasted to the entire world. Now, apart from that, you remember also that the Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiation has been sending out communiques. There was one calling on immediate ceasefire in respect when the UN asked that there should be a ceasefire because of COVID. We did send out a communique to say that, to call on the parties to put an end to the fighting. Nobody hid it. We have been reacting. We have been calling on the parties. You remember, I asked you on this very platform, upon a mission from the coalition. I was criticized by many Anglophones for that, but I did my job. I called on the parties, on these Anglophones in the diaspora and those here, to come under one thinking cap. You remember very well. I did that here on this very platform. It was a mission from the coalition. So what are you asking us to do that we have not done? We have been talking to these people and asking them to come together and talk as one man.
No, if you ask,
We have been talking to the both parties and asking them to drop their weapons and implement a ceasefire.
And did they respond positively to your call? Both sides.
You see, by our traditions, all our traditions, if a child does not stop crying, the mother will not stop singing. We shall continue singing until they will stop.
Now, if you made a call, because you are Cameroonians, you made a call to both sides and they did not hit to your call, what now makes you believe that the international community is going to talk? We have heard the Secretary General. We've heard the Secretary General of the United Nations call for a ceasefire. Nothing is happening.
I will answer that, sir. You see, Apostle Nambe mentioned some world leaders who came to Cameroon and went, and there was no result. Now, let me say this because it's very important. When these people came to Cameroon, do they know the problem that is here? When they came, were they told what the problem is? They came on a visit, went to State House, like he said, they left with golden trophies.
But they have embassies here
no,
now,
sir.
agencies that
This is very
yeah.
important. You see, it's very important. That was the reason why the coalition took 6 months to come up with documentation. So we are not just contacting people. We give them the documentation to tell them what is actually the problem, what is actually happening. So we don't just talk to you. We give you evidence of what is happening so that you will support the right cause. That is the cause of peace.
Now, what if there is no action from the US? Or you are very certain 100% that they are
Can you say what if there is no action when there is already action, sir? We see them acting.
Why remind me?
No, I said we are. Please don't forget that letter was written by 11 organizations.
Let me
It's
read
not
them.
only
I read
coalition.
them. We have the World Council of Churches. You have the Consortium of Ethiopian Human Rights Organizations.
Thank you.
There is the Cameroon Humanitarian Relief Initiative, the Global Campaign for Peace and Justice in Cameroon, the Refugees Council of Australia. We have TAS International. You have the Presbyterian Church, United States of America. Yes.
Yes, as I was saying, you see, it's not only the coalition alone.
But
we are giving the areas of emphasis.
Yeah,
please, we are emphasizing.
What if they don't
criminals who have led to the deaths of millions of people should not be allowed to go free. There should be an international investigation bringing these culprits to book.
On both sides?
Yes, almost. How? The CDN does not take sides, please. We don't take sides. We are neutral. We don't support any. I've said so several times here.
Okay.
CDN does not take sides. It's neutral.
We
support nobody.
We are transiting to the second topic.
Peace.
We are transiting to the second topic for tonight, which has to do with the caption by the Guardian Post that says the UN says Anglophone crisis not on their agenda anytime soon. Are you surprised by that?
Surprised for what?
No, but he says the guys are packing their bags to come already.
Packing which bags? I should be hearing about you from Adrian. That is UN talking by itself. And then you should ask me to ask about UN from CDN. How is it possible that I'm sitting close to you and telling me that you are okay and then Adrian tells me that you are sick? So I should believe Adrian, I don't believe you.
There may be a diplomatic way.
What diplomatic way? I've told you that the issue that we don't want to face reality in Cameroon. My worry is that a lot of damages are continuing to take place while this war continues.
Mm-hmm.
If they say, hear the statement, UN says Anglophone crisis is not on their agenda anytime soon. If you understand that grammar, that anytime soon can be another 5 years. If by the time we've taken 5 years now, 10,000 persons have died, it means in the next 5 years, we'll bury 20,000 persons. And then if we have 700,000 displaced persons, we'll have 1.4 displaced persons. If you have 10,000 refugees, we'll have 20,000 refugees. Why would they allow such a pressing issue to be kept in some long run when people are practically dying now? Are you telling me that if I want to excrete, there's no toilet, I will not excrete anyway? I have seen people excrete by the roadside because they didn't have toilet to excrete. We are the ones having running stomach. If the international community does not give us toilet, anywhere we have opportunity to defecate, let us defecate. I don't know if I'm speaking in parables. The pressure on this thing is not on America. It's not on Germany. It's not on France. As a matter of fact, if Mr. Adrenye has a boil on his body, it is him that will be awake at night. The highest I can tell him is Brother Ashia. We are the ones that carry these boils on our testes. We are the ones that are feeling the pain. If there is somebody that has to bust this boy, I will not wait for Adrenye if he's a doctor. I will use for a piece of broomstick and bust this boy. Cameroonians are dying. Cameroonians are displaced. Cameroonians houses are burnt. Cameroonians is they are sick everywhere. I think that if we are waiting for some medical doctor to come from Germany and France and Britain to come and solve the problem, is a very serious thing. This UN we are talking about, there are 5 backbones of the UN. There's a Russia, there is China, there is Britain, there is France, and there is America. This UN is not an individual. In other words, Britain, that barrister actually said they are talking. France, that he says they are talking. America, whom they have just written to. They are the ones telling us back now. Oh gosh. It's 5 voices.
But
Britain,
But
America.
something. Can we be specific here? That if the UN Security Council has to take a decisive action, and there is a veto from one of them, that resolution may not, it will not go through. And when we look at the stakes, is Cameroon not benefiting from the divided
Views.
yes, perspectives from the members of the United Nations Security Council? Because when you look at the position of China vis-a-vis what is happening, may not necessarily be the position of Russia, maybe England that has recently signed trade accords with Cameroon. We've seen the way there is a British Congresswoman, parliamentarian rather, who was very worried that Britain is engaging in trade relations with Cameroon with the ongoing crisis. But that is still did not stop.
It was signed already.
Yes, it was signed already.
Signed.
So, and we saw the way the reaction of the new British ambassador to Cameroon, who said he felt at home, he was happy to be here. Seemingly, there is a very good working relationship between not only Britain but the US and Cameroon. So something is the people are crying that the US should see with them, but there are also some trade interests that maybe overshadowing what our expectations. Dr. Nick,
Yes, when you hear the UN says Anglophone crisis, not on their agenda anytime soon. Yeah, that statement is true. And they're sending a very powerful message to all these people, especially in the diaspora, pushing for people to be killed and whatever. Listen, it's because they have an answer to the problem in the background.
Okay.
And when I'm telling you that there's going to be dialogue, there's going to be reconciliation, there's going to be unity, believe me or not, that's your problem, but that's what it's going to be. And technically they have already come to that conclusion, and they just it's like a banana that you have harvested and put in a basket and you're expecting it to get ripe. So you have dealt with the problem. So as far as I'm concerned, the problem is solved as far as the strategy is concerned. Now it just has to be implemented. So like I've said, in the days ahead, you will be seeing a dialogue in all its facets. There's going to be reconciliation, and there's going to be unity in the nation, and that problem will be solved. And like I said, anyone who's not going to toe the line would be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, but is Dr. Nick not right when we know that the reconstruction process that is supposed to take place in the southwest and northwest region already? We see the United Nations Development Agency already, UN. UNDP involved in it.
Thank you, Mr. Leo. The question, we should go back to our question. He was the person who tried to answer, and Mr. Ebako concurred that he was right to say that the UN has said. The UN speaks either through the General Assembly the Security Council, or the officials, the Secretary General, or the President, who of those spoke? You see a caption in newspaper, you say it is true. Who of those spoke for the UN? No. Let us address the issue.
The article cites
Excuse me, sir.
The official, yeah.
Excuse me, sir. The Security Council is being headed now by Vietnam. It's a Vietnamese official who made that statement. What is the weight of Vietnam in the Security Council? What's their weight?
You say it is headed by Vietnam, and the person,
they are the ones heading the Security Council.
And he is the person who made
it
that
will
statement.
take place for 1 month, sir. It will last 1 month. So you want to tell me that if America comes with something to be discussed, Vietnam will say no? Is that what you're saying? I want to say if Germany comes and says we want this to be discussed, they will say no.
Who is the head of
Or France, I say Vietnam is presiding now for 1 month.
Who is heading UN now? From which nationality?
Please.
Is it Portuguese now? What's Portugal?
Are you talking about the
We're talking about
General
heads.
Assembly, or you are talking about the?
I'm talking about the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres is from Portugal. What is the weight
Is
of
he
Portugal?
heading?
What's the weight of Portugal in the world?
Please, that's a different issue.
No, you say Vietnamese is heading.
That is a different issue. A country presides over the Security Council for 1 month and gives the baton to another. So I am saying that if a national of a country that is presiding, Cameroon has presided.
Cameroon has presided.
You cannot make that type of sweeping statement because you haven't consulted all the other members, those big guns, to know what they have in their backs. You can't.
How you?
They don't have
Let me
any.
talk.
No, please. You see, look, this man who made this statement, I say it is irresponsible of him because he does not know what France has in its agenda. He doesn't know what Britain has. He doesn't know what America has. He doesn't know what Germany has, what China has. So if any of these come up with something to be discussed on Cameroon, will Vietnam say no?
It's an
No,
if.
no, sir. Look, we should not get confused with this type of things. That statement is a sweeping statement that is not true. It's not true because for it to be true, they ought to consult all the permanent members and find out whether they intend.
Who tells you that they were not consulted?
Who tells me is because I know that there is background work that somebody mentioned here that has been going on to have this Cameroon issue tabled on that table during the presidency of. Well, I hope I should. Well, I think I should not let the cat out of the bag. But there's background work being prepared for that issue to be tabled on the Security Council when one of those big countries is presiding. So they should stop running their mouths. I mean, it is.
Are you not just confirming what Atem Ebako is saying? You are an African who is so you are minimizing the position of Vietnam.
I am not minimizing.
Yeah,
I am facing the truth.
You think that it's only when either the US or the UK is going to head that council that the thing pass through. That is the impression I
There is.
yeah.
I am saying that there is background work for that issue to be tabled on the table around a certain date. I don't want to give you, but Vietnam cannot say anytime soon. It is wrong because they don't have the agenda. They don't have the plans of the other of the permanent countries. They don't have. They should wait and see what each country produces on the table before they can talk. That statement is a sweeping statement that is untrue. It's not correct.
I mean, Vietnam is independent.
Mr. Liu, concerning
No,
what
that
you-
means Vietnam
No,
is
no.
independent.
No,
to
no.
sit in their Vietnamese house.
Yeah, no. The issue even is that at the level of the UN National Security Council, whether it is a Vietnamese that are presiding right now, they don't have any power to take any decision without the 5 permanent members.
Oh, good. Thank you for the.
I'm telling you that they don't take.
So is it individual?
No.
No,
They-
thank you for the addition.
No.
So
Let us be
you
very
see that
clear.
somebody has no power. Is making that out.
No. They don't have the power to take any decision, whether you are presiding, even if it's Cameroon presiding. But the point here is that concerning the UN is that the UN, as a matter of fact, if you go to the Bureau of Aging and Population in the Washington DC, they have every statistics more than the Cameroon government on what is happening in Cameroon. Amazingly, if you go on that website, you want to have any statistic anywhere in the world, you have accurate statistics at that bureau. So what I'm simply trying to say here is that if the United Nations was willing to intervene in Cameroon's affair, they would have done so long ago and not today. Because they have the facts, data evidence that even the Cameroon government does not have. Even the people in those two regions. I was so amazed that even in Cameroon we have a problem with issuing of ID cards. But they will tell you the accurate amount of population in Cameroon. Very accurate, with no mistakes. So what I'm simply trying to tell you, senior barrister, is that the UN cannot do anything for Cameroon. As a matter of fact, the UN was created in 1945 with the intention to permanently keep Africa where it is today. So they don't have anything good. Let us be clear. And that is why I will tell you that I will ask a good question. Why do you think that as big as Africa is, and as old where civilization began in Africa, where all the super world power still have something to learn from Africa, Africa does not have veto power? Does it make any sense? These are people who talk about equal rights, promoting self-determination, talking about emancipation, but you don't give us veto power. So how do you expect us to believe you when you say that
no,
whether it is a Vietnamese or is who? I'm just simply trying to tell you that those 5 permanent members with veto power have right to change any decision. Whether if the Vietnamese say that they want to look into Cameroon's matter, France is not interested, for example. United Kingdom is not interested. Russia is not interested. You remember the last time Russia spoke, he said they should go back to the table and discuss their problem. So they are giving the Cameroonians the opportunity to solve their, because they are tired. Look at what they did in Libya. They decided break all their own laws, enter into Libya, cause a catastrophe. Look at Libya today. Libya today has become a mess. So it is not a good approach to take a response, whether by arms or whatever. So at the end of the day, I come back to what Dr. Nick says and to what the apostle says. We should be able to see that this country can only be built by the Cameroonians themselves, and not
if you have the political will, which you don't have.
But that is what it comes back
you
when
have the
when you
will.
come, barrister, when you talk about now the level of the UN National Security Council, you don't even have political rights there. Do you have it? You don't have it.
Who?
As a nation, we don't have it.
Cameroon?
That is what I'm simply trying to tell you, that looking from our history.
Is a member
Barrister, from 1960, let me be honest with you today, and Cameroonians, this country was contracted. This country was contracted in the hands of few Cameroonians.
Okay.
And that is why Cameroonians cannot work for their country as people who came from this country. Everybody wants to steal because they realize that this country was won, let me put it that way, by France, and contracted in the hands of very few people. When the Maquis, the Bamilekes, and the Bassas fought for self-determination, what happened? So all I'm simply trying to say, Mr. Leo, we need to take a decision like what we saw the Malians. Look at what stopped iPod in Nigeria, what stopped SARS in Nigeria. It's a population. We need to take that decision. If I will say that today the problem in Cameroon becomes the Cameroonians themselves, I will agree with that.
The UN Security Council is controlled by 5 powers I've mentioned here. Anybody they put to preside over is political propaganda to convince the world that power is not in their hand. There is a town crier in a village. That town crier announces what the phone sends out. Britain, France, Russia, America, and UK. Britain, France, China, America, and UK are the phones of United Nations. That Vietnamese, a Chinda, a town crier, that announces what the phone has conceived. This you see Chinda and shouting here. This is a Chinda. This Chinda has announced what
the phones have decided.
What the gods have said.
What the gods have said is what this Chinda Vietnamese is announcing it. So you cannot disconnect this town crier from the palace, because that is where he gets information from. So if you say Vietnam has no power, Vietnam doesn't need to have power. A town crier needs no power. He's a transmitter of information. So if the town crier from Vietnam has said that, United Nations says Anglophone crisis not on their agenda anytime soon, it means the phone has given information to the town crier to publish.
Mr. Leo, when the Tigray crisis, when it erupted, it did not take 5 days for the Security Council to convene.
Yeah.
So the person who was presiding over the council at that time would have said,
And what happened?
Tigray is on the agenda.
And what happened?
No, please,
And
look,
what has
if
happened?
any of those big powers decides that a matter should be enlisted for hearing, it will be.
But it's in Tigray. What has happened in Tigray?
Oh, please leave that one.
Nothing has happened.
You are talking of somebody saying Anglophone, Cameroon's crisis is not on the Security Council table. I am saying that if any of the big table decides,
Senior barrister is propaganda.
I have simply said that you take the example of Tigray, it was not on any agenda, but when it erupted 5 days later, it was on Security Council table because a big country said we want this thing to be examined. Look at even the one of Myanmar, yes, it's the same thing.
Yeah, no.
The same thing. When it erupts, if any person says,
Dr.
let us examine this,
Dr. Nick,
examine it.
Dr.
So,
Nick, are you very
Vietnam should
comfortable?
close their mouth.
Dr. Nick, are you very comfortable with the way the UN is policing the world? We know that they came to solve problems and to stop wars and to ensure that the world lives in harmony. We have crisis in Central African Republic for years now. We also are aware of what is happening in other parts of the world. Are you very comfortable on what the United Nations can do to solving or providing lasting world peace?
Let's say that the United Nations is all that we have. There's nothing else. Beyond the United Nations, there's nothing else. So that's all you've got as a tool in your hands. But that said, we tend to blame the United Nations for the problems we've caused ourselves.
Okay.
And humanity is so wicked to herself. And you know, I speak now from the Bible. You know, God, the one who made the earth, he says, this is the way you should live. This is the way you should live with your brother. And I remember what the cardinal told me: do unto others as you will have it done unto you. Un point, un trait. And the whole Bible, as huge as it is, you can compress it into one word: love. That's it. And when humanity does not love, when humanity is greedy, when humanity is suffering from all these vices, and then you steal from your brother, you kill your brother, you do all sorts of funny things, and then you're running around wanting an American to come and solve your problem. That is not, it's not the American's problem. You created your problem. You don't love your brother. You don't know what truth is. You don't live, you don't forgive, you don't live according to kingdom principle. That's why we have been saying that if Cameroon wanted to solve these problems today, everybody will come down from their high horses, and then we look at truth in the face and say, what is the truth in this matter? And then we let go our egos and we solve the problem. When we keep shouting on America should come, United Nations should come, it's because we are saying that someone is going to be sitting on their high horse and we need a big brother to pull them down that horse. That's all. Big brother, why do you want big brother? You want big brother to pull someone down from that high horse. That's all. Otherwise, if we were genuine, you don't need big brother. If we were genuine, this problem would not have lasted this long. It's because we are deceitful to each other.
Thank you. Thank you.
We are deceitful to each other.
Yeah.
You persist according to the Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiations. The US, France, Britain must come in to solve this problem.
Well, to help put us on the table, like he's saying, we have a big brother who is sitting up there and saying, I am up and I remain up. He does not want to hear anything. His solution is the one of the callers. So we need somebody bigger than him to bring him to order. That's it. That's the point.
No, let's forget we are talking about big brother. Even in the secessionist camp, they are fighting.
No.
They are big brothers even there. So it's
we are not
everybody.
interested in camp, sir. We are saying that there are two parties here. There is a big brother, there is a small brother. The big brother is up there and doesn't want to hear anything. And we say, bigger brothers, come and help us. Let us sit on the table and solve this matter.
Where did the UN effectively solve an African problem? Can you cite me an example?
They will give us from 1945 till present date, when the UN was formed. I'm yet to see an African problem that the UN has successfully
That's
solved.
the Big Brother. Yes. Can you cite some cases? Let's see how the Big Brother came and
We had a crisis in Mozambique in 1989. Rebels, country against the state. It was not Big Brother who came to solve the problem. It was the president, Alberto Chisano, that went to solve that problem. We had Sudan crisis for 30 years. Big Brother did not come to solve the problem.
Who solved it?
That what?
Who solved Sudan's problem?
Not
Who
UN.
created the South Sudan state?
I am going to explain to you.
let him just.
I'm just asking him to explain better now. Because
I want to explain better.
South Sudan state was created by the UN.
That
It
doesn't solve
wasn't
the problem.
UN that created South Sudan state, senior barrister.
Okay, sir.
It wasn't the UN.
It was not the UN.
When Omar el-Bashir flew to South Africa and he was supposed to be arrested and he escaped from there, was the UN that sent people to go and arrest him?
He was to be arrested because of a warrant of arrest.
It was
the
a
International
warrant.
Criminal Court
It
that
was
was after him.
It was not a warrant
And
of
the
arrest of
International Criminal
Military
Court is part of the UN.
No, it was not an arrest. I'm bringing the points out now. They have just asked me a question. When Omar el-Bashir went to South Africa and he was supposed to be arrested and he sensed and escaped back to Sudan, why did the UN not take its veto power? See, it was the one that gave international. They gave the arrest, the power to arrest. Was Sudan in space? Was Sudan beneath the earth? Was the bunker of Omar el-Bashir unbombable that they could not penetrate it? You know that when he went back to Sudan, he stayed for many years again before they finally came to the conclusion of separating North and South Sudan. Do you know how many years that war started? That war fought. I'm coming now. I'm coming. It's not United Nations that separated North and South Sudan. It's not. So let us not be beating around the bush. Even UN wants to take the glory for what? For 30 years, UN could not solve the problem of Sudan and South Sudan. It could not. When they said that, why did the UN enter into the case of Sudan? There were 5,600 blue helmets, that is the United Nations soldiers in Darfur, for years. And then when UN said that they were supposed to withdraw 1,000 of those forces, it was AU that said the entire piece of the entire region is volatile. So let us not be talking as if how many years that UN security forces stayed in Darfur. Why did they not solve the problem in Sudan? How many years? So we are talking about UN support. UN stations forces in places for their interest. As I talked to you, there is crisis in Central African Republic. What is UN doing there? Nothing. There is crisis in Somalia. What is UN doing there? Nothing.
So they're doing nothing.
I'm doing what? What? That does solve the problem.
You leave your own problem to go
And
and
solve the problem. When Yahya Jammeh was tormenting people in Gambia, what did UN do? Was it not ECOWAS that came down and kicked Yahya Jammeh and put them about in power?
That was an internal problem, sir.
What internal problem are you talking about, senior barrister?
Jammeh was the dictator. It's an internal problem. There were no two countries at war. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Let me ask.
There are two countries at war now. Is that what you're saying?
I said the conflict in Cameroon is an international conflict that involves two countries.
Okay. So
Gambia did not have two countries fighting.
No, but my question still remains. I wanted a clear example where the UN effectively was brought in as a big brother to solve the problem.
Nowhere. When South Sudan got independence, there was fight in South Sudan consistently. UN did not come. It was the president of South Sudan that negotiated with the rebels in Congo Kinshasa. That is the problem. The Hutu rebels have been fighting in the northern part of Kivu, in North Congo, for many years, extracting gold and manganese and other minerals from that place. The UN has never stepped there. Recently, the tele-ambassador was killed in Kivu because of
UN forces in Kivu.
That what?
I didn't know UN forces in Kivu.
What have they done? I'm talking about solving problem, no barrister.
What
have they done? Have they solved problems?
The Liberian crisis. What did they solve?
What did they do? It was the ECOMOG soldiers who went to Liberia to solve the problem. The same in Sierra Leone. What have they done?
Nothing. They were there in Liberia exploiting the natural.
What have they done?
Who?
There was France now. There was France now. Was it the UN?
There were no UN forces there.
Where?
seemingly, I'm not
Where
saying
are
the
we?
big brother.
Mr. Leo,
Ethiopia. Tell us about Eritrea.
You
That
people are talking
Eritrea.
about the big brother. I'm not
Eritrea.
saying the big brother plays any
Please,
role.
I want to clarify. Eritrea and Ethiopia had a border crisis for 20 years. 100,000 persons died. When this young man called Abiy Ahmed rose to power at the age of 43 years, he was the one that flew down to Eritrea and met Isaiah Afwerki, the president of the day, and negotiated a peace resolution. It wasn't UN.
It was no UN.
Not on this earth, except to
It
don't
was
have
not
facts. It was
It was no UN.
Abiy Ahmed that went and met
That is
Isaiah
the prime
Afwerki.
minister. Who is the prime minister?
Prime Minister, he met Isaiah Afwerki. They settled the Eritrea crisis that killed 100,000 people at
That
the
is
border
the
of
prime
Eritrea.
minister.
Where was UN? You're
Nothing.
telling me UN where?
Okay.
UN is the name change. It's League of Nations that has changed. A
That's a
toothless
League of Nations.
bulldog that may and cannot bite. So they should not be intimidating us.
Okay, the big brother seemingly is helpless.
Who says
Very
But there
helpless.
is Syria.
Please. Allow
senior barrister.
Apostle in-
Senior barrister. Okay,
all the criminal courts that are there
senior
on
barrister,
African
senior
soil,
barrister, senior-
trying people who have killed in their countries.
I
That
thought
one
the damage
is
done now.
no. That one is done by
That one is
negotiation.
done for Africans.
Oh, I
It's
see.
done for Africans.
I
Tell
see.
me any European leader. George Bush committed atrocities in Kuwait. Why did they not take him to international criminal court?
Okay, what caused Donald Trump to issue out warrants for members of the International Criminal Court?
Issue warrants have they been
No,
arrested?
what caused him to
Have
do
they
so?
been arrested?
Where,
Have they been arrested?
excuse me now.
International
Wait,
criminal
I will
court was
answer you.
created. International
Please,
criminal
please,
court was
created
created
only
for Africans.
for Africans.
no, excuse me.
Please.
Tell me
No,
which
no, no,
European
no.
have been taken to the International
One
Criminal
time
Court of
we've gone
Justice.
past
People
one.
should not be misinformed, sir.
No,
No,
that
it's
is
not
those are
misinformation,
facts. Those are
barrister.
facts.
I have to be very
Those are
sincere.
facts.
ICC tried to issue warrants against Americans.
When was ICC
That is
created?
why
ICC was
Donald
created
Trump
after the genocide
issued
in 1994.
travel ban on them and warrants against them.
Attempt.
And that was just lifted by President Biden.
Attempt. I don't know. We may have to revisit this topic next
you.
week. I'm sure on Monday.
Yes.
Can we come back on this topic on Monday? Okay. Yes.
You
yes.
say the time is short.
Yes. We started late. Can we revisit this on Monday? Do we agree?
As court pleases.
Okay, but please, we have to end here, unfortunately, because I really would have wanted us to go beyond Africa to see where the UN has successfully intervened beyond Africa.
They have been
please,
able to feed 75,000
Apostle with-
families.
Apostle with
That's
Mr.
what they-
Leo.
They give their food.
No.
They
We
lost
are
some
out of
guns.
time. Attempt.
30 seconds. 30 seconds. The cases are just out of number. The UN has not done anything in Africa. To Liberia, Sierra Leone, name them.
No, I'm talking beyond Africa.
Beyond Africa, they have given
Mr. Leo, the UN was not created to solve African problems.
Okay.
It's not meant for Africa.
It's
The
okay.
ICC was meant to only punish African
Okay,
leaders.
okay,
Tell me
okay.
which European leader has been taken to ICC.
Okay.
European leader.
Okay.
Which one?
Please.
The man of Belen.
Yugoslavia.
Eastern European. Eastern Europe.
No, that's
Eastern
Africa.
Europe.
It's Africa.
Please. We have to end here. Sincerely,
The UN is useless now.
It's useless.
Thank you.
Can we?
It's a list of nations. The UN is a list of nations.
If you look at the trend,
It's a list of nations.
if you look at the trend of all the problems that have been going on in Africa and other nations, you realize that it's the people themselves who end up solving their problems. So these bodies, be it America, Germany, whatever, they help you to come to that solution. And at the end of the day, it boils down to human character and attitude. So the Cameroonian problem is going to be solved. Our president is going to call the dialogue. There will be reconciliation. and
Okay,
unity.
Dr. Nick, thank you. One last word from you.
Yes, Mr. Leo, you see, the USA does not need the UN to act.
Okay.
So when this letter is written to the USA, it has its purpose, it has its full weight, because the US can, independently of the UN, carry out any diplomatic action.
We saw that in Libya now.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming.
saw
Senior
it in
Barrister.
Libya.
Diplomatic action.
We
Thank
saw it
you.
in Libya.
Thank you.
And we saw the results.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome, sir.
Apostle, thank you for
When
coming.
they say diplomatic, you go to military.
Thank you.
And to you, Andrew, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leo.
Okay, we want to once again tender our apologies to you for starting the program late. We are going to revisit this topic next week, and we want to thank you all who took time off to watch the program, and to you, Eli Desmond, and to you, Bertrand, who is at the broadcasting, and not forgetting you, Tabi Tambe Bryant. Stay blessed. Bye bye.